Hi there, everyone, and welcome to Paper Wishes Weekly Webisodes. I'm Sara Naumann, and I'm so excited to show you some fabulous supplies from our friends at Creative Expressions. Today, we're going to play with 3 stencils: Dissolving Mesh, Scaly Mesh, and Starstruck. We're also going to use 2 really versatile dies. We have the Skylar Border and we have the Camilla, which is a beautiful, intricate nested frames die. Now, both of these dies come with project ideas inside the packaging as well. All of these supplies are going to work beautifully along with our 9 gorgeous colors of Glitter Kiss Glitter Medium, which you are absolutely going to love. Now, I have 5 card projects to share with you today, and these cards are going to be using papers from the Dotted Duos number 2 paper pack. And these are 12-inch by 12-inch papers, so you're going to have 12 coordinating designs. They're double-sided, and you have a really fun dot pattern. So you have a small dot on one side, and the reverse side has that same color in a slightly larger dot. My sentiments are all coming from the Script Word Dazzles pack in gold, silver, black, and white. So this is going to add the perfect message onto my glitter kissed card projects. So as you can see, we have a lot to explore today. I am so very glad that you're here. Come play with us. Let's take a closer look at our Cosmic Shimmer Glitter Kiss colors. So we have 9 different colors, beginning with lilac. We have Bordeaux, dark bronze, penny copper, vintage violet, garnet, rose copper, light purple, and my personal favorite, ocean spray. Now I'm going to move aside all of these beautiful jars of color, and we'll take a closer look at Glitter Kiss and a quick application process. So you might be thinking that Glitter Kiss comes in the same packaging as Luster Polish, and this is correct, but it is a very different medium. Glitter Kiss is a polished silk glitter in a clear suspension. And what this means is that you will get the glittery effect without the characteristics of dry glitter. So basically, without the need for a special glue and without shedding. So basically, this gives you the look of glitter on your cardstock without you finding glitter in your carpet a week after you use it. So this is water-based, it is fast drying, and it can be easily die cut, which is not always the case with glitter cardstock. So you can also use it with stencils, as we see, or as a background. So let's take a look at this. I'm going to bring in a piece of smooth white cardstock here, and you can see this gorgeous medium in here. Now, similar to the Luster Polish, you've got your sponge applicator built right into the top of the packaging. So this really comes in handy. Now, all you need to do is just load up your sponge applicator with some of the medium. So I just dip my applicator in here, kind of scrape off any excess, and then just simply run this right onto my cardstock. And you can see how beautifully that color just slides right on and how lovely that looks. Now, if you're thinking, ooh, I wonder what that looks like on black cardstock, let me bring in a piece and we can take a look at this. Again, just load up my applicator with some of this beautiful medium and apply it right on here. And I'm using kind of a circular motion here. You can use the sponge applicator. Of course, you can also use a palette knife or a paintbrush too. We'll take a look at some of those techniques as well. But I think this just looks absolutely stunning. So we've got it on the black, and we also have it on the white. Now, if you wanted to go back and add more color on here, you absolutely can do that as well. So one last bit of advice that Creative Expressions gave me is before you close up your glitter kiss for the night, they recommend you just give a quick spritz with a little bit of water. Now, because this is a water-based medium, adding a light mist is going to really maintain its usability. Then you can just put your lid back on and you can store it and be ready to go the next time you want to use this. So we've looked at my favorite, which is the ocean spray, but let's take a look at some of our other colors and what they look like on both black and white cardstock. So this is the vintage violet kiss. We have the penny copper kiss, dark bronze kiss, lilac kiss, that's so stunning on the black, garnet kiss, Bordeaux kiss, rose copper kiss, light purple kiss, And of course, back to our ocean spray kiss. So beautiful on both white and black. I think this would also look gorgeous on gray or a dark navy as well. Okay, so now that we know the basics of Glitter Kiss, let's take a look at some different application techniques. Our first technique is going to be stenciling with a sponge applicator included in the Glitter Kiss packaging. And I'll be stenciling with the scaly mesh design. So I'm going to, working on my craft sheet, simply bring in a piece of smooth white cardstock and simply place my stencil right on top here. Now I want to secure this down, so I'm using some masking tape. And I'm just going to secure my stencil right down onto my craft sheet. And this is just going to ensure my stencil doesn't move around on me. So I'll tack this down lightly. And then all I need to do is get some of that beautiful Bordeaux Glitter Kiss on my sponge applicator. I'm going to take off the lid and just dip this sponge right into that beautiful color. Again, scraping off any excess. I don't want to have it too loaded on here. And then what I'll do is simply apply the Glitter Kiss straight through the stencil and right onto my cardstock. And I'm using a kind of circular motion here. Now again, I'll pick up a little bit more of that Glitter Kiss medium and continue on. And I think you can see where this is coming through the design. It's not going to be a really thick layer. This is not a texture medium in the same way as like the luster polish, for example, but this is going to give us a really beautiful color, glittery shine, and of course that really fun stencil pattern on here. You can add as much or as little as you want to, and just keep running that around on your cardstock until you've got as much on here as you want. Now I've got a little bit more over in this area and it's lighter over here, which is what I wanted because I wanted you to see the differences of this. So I'll just pop the lid back onto my Glitter Kiss and pull off my tape on one side, holding down the stencil as I do this so I don't yank off that stencil. And then what you're going to want to do is hold this down on one side and gently lift up. So you never want to slide your stencil off. But I think you can see how pretty that design is. And that you're getting some nice dark color over here, some lighter areas here. Because of the sponge applicator, you're going to be getting concentrated color on some of the edges of that beautiful scaly mesh design. So this is a quick and easy way to add a glittered patterned effect to your cardstock. Let's take a look at how we can stencil with a palette knife. Stenciling with the sponge applicator will give you a really soft and subtle effect. If you want to get more texture and bolder color, then grab a palette knife and stencil with that instead. So I've got my stencil already taped down and I'm again working onto some smooth white cardstock. This is the dissolving mesh stencil, which I think is a lot of fun. I've got my palette knife on hand and I have my light purple Glitter Kiss on hand as well. So all I need to do here is just take off the lid and then scoop up some of this medium with my palette knife. Now I've got a blob of it on my palette knife. I'm going to simply apply this right through the stencil and kind of rub this on almost like I'm frosting a cake. And grab a little bit more here and carry on until I've got as much on my stencil as I want. So I'm going to try and cover a pretty large area here so that you can see the effect. Put a little bit down here and maybe some more up here. Now as I'm applying this, I'm making sure that the color goes through the stencil. I'm also kind of scraping off the excess to redistribute that across my stencil so that none of this beautiful color will go to waste. So I'll apply a little bit down here and come up through this area. And then using the edge of my palette knife, scraping away any excess, which I can then scrape back into the pot so that none of it goes to waste. Okay, so I think I've got that pretty well. I will want to clean off my palette knife and of course my stencils pretty quickly when I'm done with this so that they don't get that beautiful Glitter Kiss color on there permanently. So I'll pull off the tape on this side. I'm going to hold down this side of my stencil, pull off the tape here. And then in the same method as before, I'm going to lift this straight up, taking sure not to slide off that stencil, and lift. And you can see that you've got crisp color and dimension on here, but you've got a lot bolder of that color as well. So I'm going to bring back in from the past technique. You can see this is that using the sponge applicator to apply through the stencil. And then this is using the palette knife. So you can get two very different looks, ranging from soft and subtle, almost distressed, to something a bit bolder and with some more dimension to it. So two great ways to stencil. Let's take a look at how we can use our craft sheet to apply our glitter kiss. Of course, our craft sheets are perfect for protecting our work surfaces, but you can also use them as a palette for some of your mixed media techniques. And that's what we're going to do next. So I've got a piece of smooth white cardstock and I've got my vintage violet glitter kiss. I'm going to move aside my cardstock for a moment and then just open up my jar here. I'm going to grab that palette knife and I'm going to scoop out some of this medium. And I'm just going to spread this onto my craft sheet and kind of make a bit of a puddle, if you will. So I'm going to smooth this out. I don't want to have a big blob anywhere here or there, so I just want to create kind of an abstract pattern on here. I'm going to set aside my palette knife. Be sure to put the lid back on my glitter kiss. And then I'm going to just quickly give a couple of mists of water here. Now I'm going to grab my white cardstock and I'm simply going to press this right into that watery medium. Now this is a technique that is great for creating really pretty abstract backgrounds. So I'm just going to lift this up and you can see I've got some of that beautiful color on here. I've got some texture and I've even got kind of a nice focal area if I was to put in a stamped sentiment or maybe a die cut element here. Now if I want to add more color around the outside edges, I can just come back in and keep going until I have as much of that surface covered as I want to. Then I just need to let this dry and it can be used as a background mat or focal area, which we'll take a look at later in one of the examples. If you're wondering what that same technique and that same color looks like on black, I've got a piece right here. And when this dries, this will look absolutely stunning. Okay, so I'm going to set these two pieces aside to dry. But you'll notice I've still got some of this medium on here. Of course, I don't want to let that go to waste. So I'm going to squeeze in a piece of cardstock here and I'm going to grab a paintbrush. And I'm just going to load up that paintbrush with a little bit of water and pick up some of this beautiful color on here. Make sure that my brush is nicely loaded and then just apply this right onto my smooth white cardstock. This is going to give me a really soft glittered effect. This is going to be beautiful. Now remember, you can die cut these pieces. You can use them as backgrounds. You can actually stencil another color on top of it too. So there's a lot that you can do with these pieces once you have finished them. So this is simple painting onto white cardstock. Now, of course, I want to make sure to put my brush into some water right away. I want to clean off my palette knife pretty quickly as well. And then I can get to using these elements. Now, one piece I want to show you here is a die cut that I've done. Now, this is the lilac kiss that's been painted onto a piece of gray cardstock and then die cut. So you can see how beautifully this will die cut. So far we've looked at sponge application of your glitter kiss. We've looked at light stenciling with the sponge applicator, palette knife stenciling. We've incorporated the craft sheet and we've done some painting. So now let's take a look at how we can incorporate these elements into our cards. And let's begin with our beautiful cutting dies that we have today. And we'll start with the Camilla and we'll also talk a little bit about the Skylar. So let's take a look at those. For today's card projects, I'm using two dies from Creative Expressions. The first one that I want to show you is the Camilla, and this is a 4-piece kind of a nested frames die. So you've got 4 elements in here. They work beautifully to create lots of layered card focals. So you can see here I've used it on my glitter kissed piece of cardstock, and you can do lots of different options with this. So let's take a look at the layering possibilities here. If you die cut with the silhouette piece, of course you will get the silhouette piece that you see here. And then you can start doing your layering. Now, if you want to add some detail, take the detail of that frame, simply put it right inside the silhouette, secure the two together onto your cardstock, run them through your die cutting machine, and you will get a piece that looks like this. So really nice focal element. Looks even better when you put a contrasting piece of cardstock underneath. Now, if you want to add even more detail to your die cuts, you can take that circle, simply pop that into the center of these two, run that through your die cutting machine, and you will get a frame with an open area on here. Now, if you want to add even more variety to your die cutting piece, take out that circle piece, take your circle detail, nest that inside, again, secure everything down, and run that through your die cutting machine, and you will get a really pretty focal element like so. Again, you can pop this up onto a contrasting piece of cardstock and have a really nice card focal element. Now, you've also got your circle shape, and you've got your detail circle here, and you can use the two of these together, or you can also put them up on some foam tape as well. So let's take a look at this. If you die cut just this element, you're going to have, of course, a circle. This is about 1 3/4 inches in diameter. If you take the detail, pop it inside, and run those two together, then you will have this detail circle. These two look great when you pop them up together. And of course, you could then add this to the centerpiece of the silhouette, or you could even start to stack and layer like so. So this is a great way to create some focal elements on your cards. Now I'm showing this to you with all cardstock, but of course you'll notice with your glitter kissed papers that this die cuts beautifully and without any glitter sort of shedding all over in your die cutting machine or getting stuck in the metal dies. So this is the Camilla. The other die that I'm working with quite a lot is called the Skylar. And this is a great simple border die, perfect to have on hand for lots of different uses. And that's going to give you this beautiful effect. Of course, you can use it either vertically or horizontally, however you choose. Don't forget, you can also cut it apart and sort of stretch it. So if you wanted to put up, for example, let me grab one of these pieces here. If you wanted to do some simple layering, you could do this quite easily as well. And that's what we're going to take a look at with our card projects. So speaking of card projects, why don't we take a look at some of the things you can do in combination with your glitter kiss, your stencils, and your dies. Since all of my card projects are featuring these beautiful intricate dies, I thought I would share my best tip for gluing intricate dies together, and that is the Cosmic Acrylic Glue. This is a liquid adhesive that will dry clear. You've also got a really great detail applicator on here. So this makes it really easy to apply the glue in and around the various detail areas of your cutting die before you glue everything together. So keep that in mind as you are working with those beautiful intricate dies. Now for our first card project, you can see here, I've used the Scaly Mesh Stencil and the Bordeaux Glitter Kiss. And I've used that sponging applicator process so that I've got a nice soft effect on my background. I've also done some sponging straight onto white cardstock, and then I die cut that with the Camilla. So that's just applied right on there. I've matted that onto a die cut piece of white cardstock. I've also got a black piece of die cut cardstock underneath here too, like a bit of a shadow. I've repeated that same process here with my circular portion of the die, which I've added a little love dazzle on here. From the same pack of Sentiments dazzles, I've got 3 little hearts down here at the bottom. I've also added a bow here. This is from the White Ribbons collection, and that's what I've also been using throughout the webisode today. Now, if you're looking at this beautiful silver piece on here that's going across my card, this is the silver linen holographic cardstock, and this is fantastic for use with the Glitter Kiss because it will give a little bit of shine. It will coordinate with the Glitter Kiss, but it's not going to compete with lots of high glitter and high shine. So this is the first of our card projects as we're putting some of these techniques together. For our second card project, I've used the Copper Penny Glitter Kiss, and I've also used the Dissolving Mesh Stencil on here, with that same sponge applicator process on here. So you can see how beautifully this looks on black cardstock. I've also sponged it right onto white cardstock, and then I've die cut that with the Skylar border die. I've used just the center circle piece of the Camilla die. You can see here I've got a white detail piece that's been glued on top of the copper penny that I've just applied right onto white cardstock using that sponge. And of course some more of our white ribbon on here and some of those beautiful patterned papers. Now for the third card project, this is using Lilac Kiss and also Vintage Violet Glitter Kiss. So I've got the Lilac Kiss, which I used with that craft sheet press technique that we looked at, where I just put the glitter kiss on my craft sheet and then pressed white cardstock into it, let that dry and use that as my matted area. Also a little bit of the holographic cardstock on here. Now I've taken the Vintage Violet Glitter Kiss and I've sponged it onto black cardstock. And then I've done my die cutting. I've done the Skylar as well as the Camilla on here. And I've used some of the holographic cardstock down underneath here. Again, a dazzle sentiment going across the center. Now the next card project is using light purple, and I have used the palette knife stenciling technique along with our Starstruck stencil, and that gives us a really nice top portion of our card, coordinating with some of the patterned paper down at the bottom. You'll notice that I've used the Skylar cutting die on here, but I've cut apart the die cut and just used a portion of it. And then I've got my Dazzle Sentiment on here. I think if you look closely, you'll notice that it's the Silver Hooray Dazzle, but it has been mounted up, kind of an offset mat with a black Hooray. And that gives, again, a bit of a shadow effect on there. Now for our last card project, of course, I've got to use that ocean spray. And here I've used it, just painted it onto white cardstock and die cut. And then I've done some offset matting here with 2 additional of the Camilla die cut elements. And I've just got them on either side. Those are from white cardstock. And then I've got my ocean spray here. I've also painted in this Dazzle heart with the ocean spray. And I've just used a very fine paintbrush to add that in there. And of course, the raised areas of the Dazzle are going to hold in that watery medium so that it creates a perfect focal element for my card. So as you can see, there are so many fun ways to use these versatile supplies from Creative Expressions. I am so glad that you joined us today, and I can hardly wait to see what you create with your Glitter Kiss and your stencils and your dies. Thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for being part of the Paper Wishes family. We are really, really glad that you are here with us. Be sure to leave a comment down below because we'd love to hear what you think of the webisode. Each of the items that we've been looking at today can be purchased separately, and you can see those below. However, we've also bundled them into a creative money saver just for you. For that money saver, just see this webisode on paperwishes.com.